Greetings, humans. A while ago, I looked up how to make a wall crack, and I didn't really like any of the results that I found, so I'm going to make a video on that today. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a wall, then we're going to crack it a little bit, and then we're going to basically crack it all the way through and let physics apply. So let's go into Blender. First, I'm going to activate this add-on that I got, shortcut VUR, and now you guys can see all the buttons I do. So let's destroy the default cube, and let's add a plane. Scale it up. This will be our ground. Let's give it a subdivision, a solidify modifier, and change the thickness. That's too thick. Like that. That's good. And then apply it. As a general rule, when dealing with physics, you want to apply all your modifiers. So let's add another plane, rotate it, scale it up a little bit, then add a 3D cursor, and then scale it along the 3D cursor so that you get something like that, a wall. Alright, now we're going to add another solidify modifier, change thickness, that's good, apply. Now let's save. And now let's go to Edit, Preferences, and Add-ons. And then you're going to want to find the Cell Fracture add-on. This is a must-have if you're going to be destroying basically anything in Blender. It's super good, and I definitely recommend it when using physics. So now we're going to make sort of a guide for our cell fracture to apply. So click Annotate, and then change this to Surface. And we're going to have our wall get cracked in the middle, so we'll start all of our lines there. These can be super ugly, it doesn't really matter a whole lot, so just sort of have a general idea of how it's going to crack. Okay, now that we have our crappy spiderweb drawn, let's click on our wall, click Object, and click Quick Effects and Cell Fracture. Now, change to the annotation pencil, change source limit to whatever you want, probably under 1,000 if you have a not NASA computer. So, and then we'll add a collection name called wall cells. This collection is very important to have because we don't want our cells getting mixed up in all of this. So let's click OK, and yeah, well. Okay, so the reason this destroys our eyes when we move it is because we have two planes that are in the exact same spot. And Blender really doesn't like two objects that are in the exact same spot. So we'll just hide this for now. Now, click on one of the things, and then right-click on the collection, and click Scene Objects. That way we can select all of these. Now let's press N, go to View, Annotations, so that we can either hide this note or just delete it. Alright, so now what we're going to do is add physics to this. It is very important that you add the physics first before doing any location, rotation, and scale keyframes. So let's go to frame like, I don't know, 50, and go to Object, Rigid Body, and Add Active. So now it'll just fall. That's because we need to add rigid body to our floor. So just click rigid body and change active to passive. Now it'll just sort of slide along the edge. But we want it to be affected by physics later on because we want to animate it first. So let's go to frame 80 or something. Select any one of your cells. Go to the collection and click select objects so that they're all selected. Go back one frame, select animated, and click I to keyframe. Then go forward, unselect animated, and click I to keyframe again. Now we have one single cell that is not going, and then it does go at 80. But we want to do that for everything. Right-clicking and copying to selected does not work. It only copies the value, not the actual keyframe. So what we want to do is press Ctrl L and link animation data. Now it all stops and then goes at 80. So that is what we want. Now we're going to go to Object, relations, make single user, and object animation. Now we can animate them all independently. Now, it's very important that you do not have any of these keyframes, because if you do that and then link the animation data, you'll get this. And although it looks pretty cool when it explodes, that is not what we want. You can do that on your own time. Well, or you can do it anytime. I don't know. But this is what we want right now. So now that we have that, let's save so that it doesn't crash or anything. And now let's go to frame, say 30. Press I, and now we can do location, rotation, and scale, and it'll work just fine. Then we can go a few keyframes ahead, click on one, make sure that auto keying is off, and before we start, select this, go to frame 1, and click I and enter a keyframe for location, rotation, and scale. So I'll explain that later. Now let's click on that and then go to wall cells. Now that we have that, let's go forward a few frames and let's grab this and move it outwards. Clean these in. Now you'll notice with that last one, I moved this entire thing. Don't worry, that will not be a problem. I'll explain why later. Let's tilt these in more. I think that's good. Oh yeah, that'll work. Now we are going to right-click wall cells, select objects, press I, and location, rotation, and scale. Then if we move it, then you'll see this goes back to normal because we did not insert a keyframe for it. So now we have our wall cracks a little bit and then breaks. We can change it. Actually, yeah, I think I like that better. So let's just, on the first frame that's active, it's only dented a little bit. Click I, location, rotation, and scale. And let's move that by like one frame, and then we can delete the other one. Okay, so now it only cracks a little bit. And then it falls apart. Nice. So that's kind of the gist of this tutorial. I'm going to show you three more things, but this is sort of the basic idea. Now, a few more things. So, if we go here, we can press I, location, rotation, and scale. And then, let's go forward a few frames, and just absolutely destroy it. Now, let's go to the side and grab all of these. Well, first, let's select all of these objects, press I, and location, rotation, and scale. Now, let's select all of the objects that flew relatively far from the center, and let's move their animation keyframes, or animated keyframes, over to right before they blow out. Let's move them one frame forward. Now it'll go a little bit, and then it shoots out with physics applying, and then the rest of it gets destroyed. So that's thing number 1 down. Now I'm going to show you a cool way to cut things. So if we go to cube, or we add a cube, we go here, we can scale it up. Now let's cut the cube with a plane. I discovered this and I feel like it's not very well known. If you know about this, sorry, I guess you look up Blender stuff, I don't know. And then we're going to add a solidify modifier. This plane only needs a tiny amount of it, so we can do 0.0000001. Let's do that. That's a really small amount. I think that's good. Then we can click this button and click apply. Now with only our plane selected, let's select our cube as well, and then press Control Shift numpad minus. Now our plane disappeared. But if we go into the edit mode of the cube, then it's still sort of there. It cut through our object. So if we click on one of them and then click Control L, then we can select this part. Then press P and separate by selection. And now you have this. You can move it up. Now you have two separate things. Now, probably something you want to do if you're going to add physics to this is go to Object, Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. That'll help. And then we can just go to our physics tab because we want to have some fun with this. Rigid body, passive on the bottom, rigid body, active on top. And then it'll just slide down. And then it will also affect our other thing. So that's fun. Now, the last thing in this tutorial. If we go into rendered view, you'll notice that, hold on, you won't notice it yet. Let's move this forward. You'll notice that you can kind of see the cracks already, even though our wall is not technically broken yet. Now it's broken. But something we can do to fix that is, well, there's a reason we did not delete our original plane. So with our original plane selected, let's go to, well, let's hide it again. Let's go to where our wall is broken first. Okay, our wall is first broken at frame 31. So let's unhide our plane, select it, and press I and do a scale. Now go forward one frame, press S and press 0, and then keyframe scale again. Now we have that perfect, and then the first frame is broken, the cracks actually appear. Now if you want to be really thorough, which a lot of times it can matter, select all of your cells, make sure one of the cells is the active element, and now I want to do the opposite. So we are going to go to the first frame is broken, select scale, then go back one, press S and 0, and then scale again. So now we have a perfect wall, then it breaks, and then it shoots out, and then it falls apart. So yeah, I hope this tutorial was helpful. It was kind of fun to do. Physics is always one of my favorite things in Blender. It's just so awesome. So anyway, I hope this helped you, and have a great rest of your day.